Impressive record behind them. I think 50% of their staff employed are people with severe hearing loss. So welcome Andrew Wiltshire.
Thank you, Peter, for that lovely introduction, and also for the invite today. We've had some outstanding presentations, so I'll see how I go. A little background about the Deaf Society of New South Wales. It was established in 1913, so we're celebrating 100 years in 2 years' time, which is wonderful. Can we just go back a slide? I've actually been asked to come and present about the employment of 50% of our staff. How this came about, what I can say is that we've always assisted the deaf community for a number of years. In 2010, we did a detailed consultation all over New South Wales. And we asked the perception of the deaf community of the New South Wales Deaf Society, and how can we support them better. Now from that, we have a new vision statement, which is equity for deaf people. And this is the foundation of how we work. The mission statement, I won't actually sign it, but it's here on our PowerPoint, but it's partnership. That's a very important word that we actually use within our organisation. Our organisation has 5 departments. One is consumer and community services, which also provides support to those people who require living skills, walk-in services, so we're talking about English into Aussie. Secondly, we have a deaf education network. And this is, of course, an RTO and the only provider that's specifically for deaf people in Australia. So we provide courses in numeracy and literacy, and also for the hearing community, the wider society. We teach Auslan. So there are 2 benefits there. And thirdly, we have an interpreter service, which is sign language communication for New South Wales. Fourthly, I'm actually the manager of employment services, and it is a disability employment service provider. And just 2 weeks ago, we now have an advocacy and development. So you may think, why is advocacy a part of the employment agency? The thing is, we actually have to make changes systemically, and particularly in education. Next slide. Sorry, can we go back one? Right. So that's just a quick snapshot of the organisation. One of our key results area, and it's the 3rd one, which is leadership by example. To us, it's very, very important. And when you think about the perception of the deaf community, this is vital. The feedback from the deaf community on our organisation was very important to us. And we took that feedback on board. Now, the people within the organisation were able to have empathy. We also have an understanding of hard of hearing people and what they're faced with each day and the barriers. So when they come to our service, they tell us, and we're aware, we understand it, so we can empathise. So in this case, we're able to give them ideas, some tools to resolve their barriers. The barriers, a lot of those that arise are through education. Because English for the deaf community, for many of them, is their second language. It's a priority language for us, Auslan, which is Australian Sign Language. So we're seeing in mainstream as a disability group. We are in terms of government perceptions, funding, but really it's a language minority, and that's the difference. Seen the big debate with Dimity, and I think there's been a misunderstanding or misconception in the community, and it's about not being cured. And our point is that it's a language, and that's what we're basing it on. Our organisation needs to be seen as a provider and providing opportunities in employment within our organisation and out in the community. Many deaf people are inspired to see such an organisation that employs 50% of deaf people and hard of hearing people. So they're wanting to have that opportunity. And so they're saying that, well, if they're providing that opportunity and it's 50%, other organisations can do the same. Now to strategies. How do we achieve this 50% mark? If you look down at the bottom of the PowerPoint, when we advertise, we use fluency in Australian Sign Language, and it's our knowledge, and it makes it attractive to the deaf community sector. It's not mandatory, but it makes it attractive. We are merits-based, and that's important to state. We look at the skill set of any applicant, and if the deaf person has the capabilities, but English is their second language, to us, that's no barrier. We put that aside, and we have strategically set that in place to assist that person. Now, for a person who is hearing, and they have the qualifications, but do not have the Auslan skills, to us, that's no barrier. Again, we've strategically set up some tools to help them in the workplace. Our policy procedures, we have one in HR, a policy there, and another one that's operational. So we have them in both. You can see that there's a variety of assistance for deaf and for hearing participants. All the information that we have is available in English, but also available in Auslan. So deaf people, when they look at any document that's in English, they can have Auslan assistance there. And as I said before, for deaf people, language is the barrier. I need to make that very clear, that English is their second language for many. So we do have 2 or 3 or hearing people there in the workplace that are fluent in Auslan. So if a deaf person has written a letter, a document, what they would do is get someone, one of those 2 or 3 people, to check the document to make sure that it's at the right standard. We also have those who are hearing that have gone through Auslan classes of level 1, 2 and 3. So in the middle we have, I guess you could call it a canteen, a table where any deaf person or hearing person can come and sit and chat in Auslan. So this way it's giving them the opportunity, a space where they can come in. And the bilingual information that we have available, our management reports are distributed in English, but again we also have it translated into Auslan. So that's made available to our deaf staff within our organisation. Sometimes we email each other. We have the English transcript, but also that explains what this email is about. So that way it's fully accessible. We use a lot of the EAF through the provision of our consumers, okay, particularly in employment services and within the organisation. Let me give you an example. when a deaf staff arrives at work, we have some pods. Deaf people don't like to sit in the corner because they cannot see who's coming from behind, okay? So what we've organised through the AF is these special mirrors that can be used on both sides. So when someone approaches them from behind, they mirror. And that has really assisted many of our deaf staff. And also for our managers, in each of our offices, half the managers are deaf. And in my office, when the doors close and I have a meeting with, let's say, a staff member, and there's something urgent, so rather than knocking, there's you can actually press a button and there'll be a flashing alert for me. So that way I can answer. So they're just some examples for you. But our employment service that I head, we have about 170 clients on our books. And the service that we provide to our consumers when they actually come to our service inspires them about deaf staff, seeing so many in our workplace and the capabilities and what's actually been adapted. So we actually educate, we give them training. So it could be reasonable adjustments, it could be any type of awareness. This is something where we can actually help them, give the skills so that they're able to individually explain to the employer. And recently we're very in employing deaf people into ANZ, BW, Westpac, and they've actually come back and asked for more. So it's just showing, I mean, but we don't have deaf people there with the right skills. Or sometimes we actually have to train them up to a standard that they're happy with. So I think, yeah, in summary, that's how we've been going, and that's actually how we've been able to achieve our 50% mark. So, thank you.
Well, that's pretty sensational stuff. So now it's your turn. We've got about